second! The cartoons are all over? My cereal's all gone? Man! That must mean it's time for Saturday Morning Review! What's up, guys? I'm your host, Intern Rick, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Jazwares, Flintstones, Fred, and Dino figures. Stay tuned. Not initially a Saturday morning original, the Flintstones made their television debut to primetime audiences Friday evening, September 30th, 1960, on the ABC network. Produced in the sitcom format and originally targeted at adult audiences, the Flintstones quickly became one of the most popular and beloved television series of all time, inspiring and paving the way for generations of animators to come. Today we take a look at the Jazwares Hanna-Barbera Flintstones, Dino, and Fred Flintstone figures. Alright everybody, so here we have our Dino figure, and just like with the Tom and Jerry and Yogi figures from before, this figure comes packaged in a Hanna-Barbera blister card style pack with the exact same Hanna-Barbera cast of characters and franchises listed on the back. And just like with the previous weeks, I have carefully cut along the blister to remove the tray from the card. Here we have our Dino figure. So we'll notice that just like with the previous figures, there are no ties holding him or his accessory in the tray, but I will note that his tail does come through the tray, so be a little careful whenever you're pushing him out. So he and his accessory pop right out of the tray. We'll set these off to the side. Alright, so here we have our Dino figure. And just like with the other figures in this line, you'll note he is made out of pink bare plastic with very little paint application. Paint on his eyes and his snout here, paint on his collar and a little bit on his nail tips, and then the spots on his back. Now I will also note that he does have a little bit of paint in the form of a stamp on the bottom of his tail, which kind of takes away from the figure overall in my opinion, but at least it's on the bottom. So, alright, we've got articulation at the wrist area here, and just like with the Yogi Bear, it's very, very tender. Feels pretty fragile, like it might break if messed with too much. And we have got the up and down movement at the shoulders, and it pivots as well. Now I thought it was kind of funny, we've actually got articulation down here at the feet, but it doesn't feel like it wants to move very well. It feels like if you twist on it too much, it's probably going to break off, like maybe they put the figure together a little too warm. So we've actually got up and down articulation at the head, and guess what? We've got left and right articulation at the neck too. So we flip him over, and we have got 2 points of articulation on the tail. He actually rotates at the tip, and then you can pivot and up and down at the tail. Alright, so here we have our Dino figure, and he comes packaged with this classic dog bone accessory. Alright, so now we have our Fred Flintstone, packaged in the same blister card pack, and carefully cut along the bottom to remove the tray from the card. So, let's pop him out of here. Get his accessory. Set those trays off to the side. And we have our Fred Flintstone. Wilma! So, alright. We've got rotating articulation at the wrist on the Fred figure, and he's actually got pivoting articulation at the elbows, at the shoulders, and we've got a pivot at the shoulders. So he's actually pretty damn posable here. So we've got articulation at the waist, so you can turn him at the waist, and then we've got articulation at the feet, but it is pretty tight, and I'm thinking the reason that that is pretty tight is because his feet are actually painted plastic, so we've got some paint kind of gucking up the joints in there, whereas his arms Hanna-Barbera molded plastic. So we've got articulation at the head, but it is very tight. Probably don't want to twist on that too much. And if you notice, his head is actually painted as well. So we've got kind of gone out of the norm here with this figure. We've got some paint on the feet down here. We've got some paint on the face and on the head. There's probably more paint on this one Fred figure than there is on any of the other figures in the entire line. So, and then he comes packaged with this nice little water buffalo hat, and it actually sits right in this little spot on the top of his head. So you just kind of stick it in there on top. Doesn't really look the greatest. I don't know, I probably will not display him with the water buffalo hat on, because it doesn't really sit on there the greatest. So, but alright, so that is going to do it for this week's look at Jazwares Hanna-Barbera Flintstones figures. And as we're wrapping up here, we'll note that the Fred does not like to stand up. So, alright, so that will do it for this week, guys.
Alright, everybody, so what did you think? As a kid, I absolutely loved the Flintstones. I remember watching the original series, I remember watching Pebbles and Bam Bam, I remember watching the Flintstones Kids. I loved it all. It's crazy for me to think how influential this series has been over the years, and the fact that had it not come along, we may not have got series like The Simpsons and South Park and Family Guy. So Jazwares keeps producing these awesome Hanna-Barbera figures. I absolutely love them. There are things that we would all like for them to change, but in the end, I'd much rather have the figures than have nothing at all. So be sure to check back next week whenever we take a look at the Jetsons Rosie figure, and until then, yabba dabba doo! Take care.